Alright folks, how are we doing? It's your bash, it's Orna, it's September, and we have a back-to-back brand new event. We've just spent the whole of August smashing dragons. Now we have Riftfall, which again is brand new. We've got a bunch of Tyrael looking mobs, kind of, fantasy, angelic heroes style, which is, yeah, pretty cool, I guess. And yeah, then we've got the mimics coming as well in mid-September for a few days. They've received a Coven face uplift as well. Interesting items on the mimics as well. But Riftfall actually brings with it the first event questline in Orna's history, I believe. So Dangy has told me. And that questline begins with an NPC called Clarent. Now you can start this questline without any prerequisites other than being tier 5. You don't need to be up to date on the storyline. You don't need to finish Pythia's quest or Gala's quest. It doesn't matter. You can just start it straight away. And remember, this is kind of separate to the Summoner line, which has just been released. That's kind of its own thing. And this quest line kind of involves picking up Riftlock fragments from monsters and then unlocking, well, it unlocks the next quest, which we have to kill the boss who drops the Riftlock itself. So yeah, fetch quest, I guess you can call them that. And it begins, as I said, from tier 5. We gotta pick up 10 fragments from the rogue type mobs. So you see here, Elite Rift Rogue. Notice that it's tier 8. This event focuses on rogues, warriors, and summoners. And it kind of goes in that order, if you like, because we begin with the rogues. The normal rogues are tier 5, as I said, but there is elite versions of all these monsters. So you've got the rogue at tier 5, then you've got the warrior at tier 6, then you've got the summoner at tier 7. So if I go back here, and I zoom in here, you've got, you've got the rogue here, then we have the warrior type mob, the guy with the shield, and then the summoner with the, the classic kind of plague mask or skull mask and the white hood. Those are the mobs. Now, these monsters, there was a kind of a bug on day 1, which I believe it has been fixed. They were not actually spawning in dungeons. They were only spawning in the world. I can confirm that they are now spawning in dungeons, so you don't only need to world farm. However, there's probably 3 ways, I would say, before we get into the quest line. There's probably 3 ways I would recommend trying to kill the mobs. And firstly, if you just want to world farm, you can. If you're going to sit in one place, the best way is honestly to have an alt of lower tier. I know not a lot of people, not everybody has alts, and this is only if you're going to stay in one place, because you want to get an alt around tier 6, pop an affinity candle on the alt, not on your main, otherwise you won't see the lower tier mobs. And yeah, if you party. So once you start a battle, don't attack, but the other character can join the battle, then you get 3 mobs at least. And a small hint, if you join as a summoner class, it spawns an extra mob on the other side, so you get a bonus mob to kill. And those can basically be the rift mobs. Or what's the next way in the world is if you are able to move around at kind of a moderate pace, cycling in the car or even walking is fine. And what you can do is maximize your monster spawn rate. So I have this Amity here, Choice and Miser. Well, it's not actually the choice bonus, but yeah, it is actually. You will encounter 65% additional monsters in the world. So stack that with something like an occult candle, spawn loads of mobs, and Orna has a new monster spawning system. I believe it came in with the questline update 3.1. But basically, if you join a different party, if you're in a different party, and you go to a new place, mobs will spawn that were not there before. It used to be in the world, monsters would spawn, and they wouldn't go away until someone killed them. And now that's not the case. They do disappear after quite a short amount of time, like maybe a day or a few. Or if you change party as well, it kind of changes the mobs that you see. So what you can do, just go in a new area, spawn as many monsters as you can, put low view distance so it spawns in like a really tight area, and you actually spawn loads. So I was in the car for about 10 minutes, just going through the city, not driving very fast, not going very far either. And I managed to kill, I think, 4 of the summoners, the questline I'm on. So yeah, you can find them in the world, and you can now find them in normal dungeons. So again, the most efficient way to find them would be to party with a lower tier character and get the fragments that way as a horde, well, party horde, because we cannot unfortunately do solo horde mode for normal dungeons. Yeah, these only appear in normal dungeons, by the way. So, part 1 is find the, I think they're called Delta Achilles Rift Lock Fragment. Yeah, I guess it's a play on words or play on letters from Achilles for the rogue. But you got to firstly find 10 Riftlock fragments, and then once you find the fragments from the rogue, you go back to Clarent. Make sure you complete the quest, and make sure you accept the next quest, which is going to ask you to kill the shadow of Achilles. And you need to go and manually accept that, because I'm not 100% certain on this, but I believe you need to kind of unlock that part of the quest to allow you to find that boss. And the next stage is to find the boss in dungeons. So the bosses only spawn in dungeons. Actually, no, that is a complete lie. They also spawn in the world. However, when they spawn in dungeons, they only spawn on the final floor of the dungeons. So you can see here the Shadow of Achilles. This is the floor 13, that's the final floor. So it can be normal dungeon or boss dungeon, doesn't matter, because it only spawns on the final floor. And as I said, they do spawn in the world, I promise you that. But because it's early in the month, the bosses in the world, they need to cycle through, people need to kill them, spawn new ones, so it might take a little bit of time for these guys to become let's say widespread in the world. It's just like dragons. After a week or so, there was loads of dragons last month in the world. So kill this guy, and then he drops the actual rift fragment, and it's just one you need to get. I'm not sure it's 100% guaranteed drop, by the way, unfortunately. So then you go back to Clarent and you start the next stage. So next stage is kill the warrior type mobs, get 20 of those fragments. Go back, complete the quest, accept the next quest. And then you have to kill Rada the Great Shield, and you have to acquire the Theta Rada Riftlock. And then you go back, and then you start the Summoner quest line, which is what I'm on right now, in the middle of that. And Summoners look like this. No, I don't actually want to share that. Got to find 30 of the Summoner fragments. I think they're called Charon. Delta Charon Riftlock fragments. 30 of those. And then find the boss. Now, got to be clear on the bosses, because there are in fact 2 versions of the bosses, you can see. So you've got 2 rogues, 2 Radas, 2 warriors, and then 2 Charons. And just got to be careful on the terminology, because if we see here, we've got the Shadow of Achilles, the red dagger, tier 5. And we've also got the Shade of Achilles, the red dagger, tier 7. So it's like a slightly upper version. And the initial quest line, you need to kill the Shadow, or the first parts of the quest line, you need to kill the Shadow of all of these, because they drop a certain rift lock. But then once you've done all of that, so you basically will complete 6 quests, and then part 7 is Omega Riftlock. We have to go and pick up basically the Riftlock from all of the bosses. So all 6 of the bosses, the Shadow and the Shade of each version, and acquire their Riftlocks. And these are not actually guaranteed drops, so it may take a little while. But essentially, you complete that quest and you get that Omega Riftlock you can see there. And this is an accessory geared towards summoners. So immediately summoners, well, they came in the game and they only had a tuner gear, I guess, for one day, but now they have something a little bit extra. So this is an accessory. The main thing here is that when carried by summoners, this item will occasionally remove the casting time needed to summon beasts. Now, I don't know if it's only for beast type summons, or maybe, I don't know. But basically, it has a chance to remove the turn time to summon beast mobs, which is cool, and also has quite a bit of ward. I mean, 3% is actually, for an accessory, is quite significant. and it's, well, okay, tier 6, maybe reward is not so big there, but because this is a quest reward, it's not 100% confirmed because it's like literally day 1. We think that this is possible to find from end of dungeon rewards as well. You know, the same way as you can find a second band of gods, etc., and maybe at higher qualities as well. So if this was higher quality, that ward would also go up, which is interesting. So that's the end of the quest line. Now, once you end the quest line, that unlocks access to the Arisen monster versions of these bosses, right? So you can see these bosses go up from tier 5 to tier 9, and we'll go over their gears in a second. But you can't click through from the codex, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think you need to complete the quest line, and then that will give you access to the Arisen versions, which are tier 10 only. So they have the same gear, but it's, you know, upgraded for tier 10. So in summary, there's kind of, let's say, 4 parts to the quest line. You got to start off with the rogues. You can actually kill the tier 5 or the elite versions, which is tier 8. They both drop the same Riftlock fragment. Then you have to kill the tier 5 version of the boss, and that can appear in the world or on the final floor of tier 5 or tier 6 normal or boss dungeons. Part 2, you want to kill the Rift warrior mobs, the guys with the shield. That can be the tier 6 version or the elite tier 8 version. They both drop the same Riftlock fragment. You got to get 20 of those pieces. Make sure again to accept the next quest with Clarent to kill Great Rada himself, the shadow version, which is tier 6, and so it can appear in the world or it can appear on the final floor of tier 6 or 7 dungeons. Then you move on to the summoners, which are either tier 7 or the elite versions are tier 9 monsters, and then get 30 of those fragments, and finally kill the shadow version of the boss, which is tier 7, and you got to either kill that in the world or in tier 7 or tier 8 normal or boss dungeons. If you're doing the dungeons, I recommend doing it in party mode. Yes, alting, it's a debate for another time, but it does just make things more efficient. Otherwise, moving around in the world with trying to spawn as many mobs as possible, that's actually super good as well. And then the final part, as we said, got to kill all the versions of the bosses. You know, all 6 bosses. Get the Riftlocks. The Riftlocks, yeah. Each boss drops the Shadow and the Shade version drop a different Riftlock. So you got to get 6 of those. Doesn't matter if you pick them up beforehand. And then finish that, and Clarent will give you the Omega Riftlock. So that's the quest line. It's I'm excited for it. I was actually having lots of fun today. Pretending to work while killing lots of world mobs. It felt like 2020 all over again, 2019 as well for me actually. Starting off, you know, mobs just keep spawning, so you just keep killing them in the world. It was it was good fun. So yeah, the bosses drop gear. I just want to make sure I'm not under attack, and pretty interesting gear. So I want to talk about this, the rogue gear. Drops a weapon called Shadow Blades, or Chain Shadow Blades. And this theme is something I can't wait to test, but basically the daggers do additional damage for each critical hit in a row. So as long as you hit with a crit, the next one will be more damage, and keep going up and up and up. I don't know exactly what the numbers are. I don't know if it's infinite scaling. I would really doubt that. I would imagine there's a cap somewhere. I don't know how much it increases, but I just can't wait to find out. Also causes bleeding, and you get the double cut ability. So basically, the other mobs drop higher versions of that item. I think the Shade drops. Okay, the Shade drops the chained Shade Blades as well, which I'm assuming is the same. Yeah, it's just slightly upgraded. And it drops the Soul of Achilles, which is Adornments, geared towards light and dark damage, which is quite interesting. Also 2% crit. And yeah, it just increases your light and dark damage. So I guess the theme, this event does have a light and dark theme. So let's check out the warrior gear. Shadow of Rada. Now, this stuff is interesting for warrior. So let's talk about the great shield. So you get a couple of slots. Ward, of course. Stun immunity, which is always nice. And then you get, this one gives you Tower of Strength. So I can't tell you exactly how much ward it recovers. I would assume it's a decent amount. But this item here, the Great Sword, yeah. Rada's Great Sword. This is an interesting item. So it's two-handed. It's like, you know, the sword and shield thing. Like Might from Orthrus. Get attack, ward, good amount of adornment slots. But stun immunity as well. And then, okay, so there's two things here. The ability, the offhand ability, Rada Stomp. This is brand new. So you take a defensive position, reducing damage for 1 turn. And then on the next turn, deliver a really powerful strike. So it's like when you hit the defend button, you actually get a defensive bonus to defense and resistance stats. So this is like, it gives you that, but then you like counter punch with a strong hit. And if you've done any of the raiding against the warrior version, you might have found that, okay, he's defending, your damage goes down, and then you receive a big hit. I was actually quite surprised earlier. I saw my realm strikes going down like significantly out of nowhere. He also reduces your damage as well, which is pretty savage. And then boom, hits you. But also have this triple defense and resistance temp ups, which basically doubles your defense and resistance. So that's something we've not seen before. That's super interesting. Proc rate 3%. Maybe it's a little bit low. You know, these proc rates are, yeah. You know, it's not something you may necessarily want to build around, but something that just happens from time to time. So I don't know. I personally would like to see him at least 5%. You know, maybe 4% because there's 2 of them. But yeah, that's super interesting anyway. And let's quickly go check out Sharon's gear. So we have the staff, which boosts the power of your summons. A lot of the summoner gear here this month is basically boosting the power of your summons. And then you have this Rally of Sharon. You can temporarily boost the stats of your summons. That's pretty much it, which is cool. And you also have the Soul of Sharon, which is an adornment which increases the power of your summons again. So it will be something really low, like 1%, but I guess you stack a few of these. And yeah, I can't wait to actually get stuck into Summoner. I'll definitely be doing videos on that at some point. But let's look at the tier 10 stuff quickly, because they actually drop something a bit different. So the Shade Blades is just like higher stats of what we talked about. And then this guy also drops the Razor, Achilles Razor. And this is like maybe it's got a lot of adornment slots for, this is a one-handed weapon, bit of crit, not bad attack. This is like the rogue version of the Finesse's Great Sword. So I'm definitely going to try and get my hands on one of those. Let's look at the Arisen Shade of Rada. So Soul of Rada, we didn't check this adornment. So it's an armor adornment and decreases light and dark damage taken. Maybe not super useful at this point in the game, but I definitely want to pick a few of these up. Pretty decent stats, bit of ward as well. And then the Arisen versions of the shield and Great Sword. So yeah, the Great Sword is something really cool. You know, it's definitely effects that we've not seen before. And I'll just check Sharon if it drops anything different. Ah, yeah, so you got the Risen version of the staff. So you get a little bit more magic. I guess the staff itself, you know, there's literally only magic there, which is interesting. Doesn't look like it has any dormant slots here. I'm not sure if it actually has, surely it has some dormant slots, just not written there. And then we have this Grimoire of Charon. It contains the knowledge of his summoning art, so this looks like an offhand. Basic, low stats, a bit of ward. But Grand summon one to many beasts to assist you. Requires 3 turns in battle, so who knows how many summons this thing can give you. Pretty cool offhand. Yeah, really low upgrade mats. So those are that's like the quest line, let's say. Pretty much done. If you've got questions on the quest line, just give us a shout. But basically, you got to kill the mobs, get the fragments, kill the boss, get not the fragment, but the actual rift lock. Do that again for the warrior shards, and then do it again for the summoner shards, and then that's you pretty much done. You get the Omega rift lock. So let's talk about what should we talk about? The raids, maybe? Okay, let's go Codex, raids. And again, it's very, it's only focused on rogues, warriors, and summoner gear. So this is the tier 10 version. Do my gauntlet. And for the rogue, I think the non-arisen version is, I think, tier 6. Well, actually, it will tell us when we open the gear. So Rift Rogue gear, yeah, tier 6. And the Rift, okay, so again, they're doing something new with this gear. It's, some nice utility that we haven't had before in the game, which I think is interesting, Maybe if the stats don't scream that they're amazing, first of all, let's look at the utility and, wait a while until we say if a gear is good or bad. But to be fair, they have actually buffed the rogue gear today. And so the rogue gear decreases your chance to miss. And this does 100% affect Realm Strikes. There's a comment from Odie himself in the main Discord confirming that. So, the tier 6 stuff is the tier 10 stuff, the Arisen stuff is the same, just higher stats. Arisen Rift Rogue boots. Now, these are actually come with ward on them. And the token dexterity, good amount of slots, but also 5% crit. It's actually, I think, the largest on an armor piece in the game. So that's kind of interesting. And I'm actually, my build in mind is it's like a set build, full Rift Rogue plus the chain blade, and just don't miss the Realm Strike. See what damage you can do. Hopefully, I can manage that by the end of the month. That's the rogue gear. Let's move on to Arisen Judge Errata. So again, the non-Arisen stuff, I believe, is tier 7. Decent stats, bit of ward as well at this lower tiers, and this gear basically gives you like the Gilgamesh type passive, where when you take ward damage, you recover HP and mana by a percentage of the ward damage taken. So, excuse me, you also get HP this time, which is interesting. Normally, the Gilgamesh only got mana back, so I believe all of the armor pieces have the same effect there. Do they have ward as well? Yeah, of course they should have ward. And then Rada also drops Spiked Great Shield, which is quite interesting. It makes skills that consume ward more effective. So that's basically Spiked Shield and Diffuse Ward. Okay. So you may have found an Amity that has that same effect. It also gives you stun immunity. So, is this going to fix Gilgamesh Spike Shield? I don't know. Maybe wait for Baalinor to make a video on that. but it's interesting nonetheless. Finally, we have the summoner carrying his wee book. And yeah, it's quite funny all seeing all the summons that he brings on. And the summoner gear, as you might expect, is based around increasing the strength of your summons. There is a bit of ward there, a couple of adornment slots. The stats seem to be focused mainly on resistance. So yeah, the event gear here for summoner is clearly focused on making your summon stronger. Now, I was chatting to Dangy earlier, and the summoner class line has been in the game for maybe 2 days, and again, attacked by this we can't. Sorry. And there's currently not a lot of gear for summoners now. They are aware of that. He's told me. So once this event is over, there will be summoner gear coming afterwards. You're not going to have only this event to get summoner gear. But for sure, I'll be trying to pick up pretty much pieces from all of these raids, to be honest, because I will be trying out summoner in the not too distant future. And finally then, for the Riftfall event, we have the 4 followers. And again, as I said from the start, you don't need to do the quest line to pick up the followers if you want. So that's the Shadows of Achilles and Rada, tier 7 and tier 8, and then you have the Shades, the slightly higher tier of these pets. And Achilles is focused on dark damage, so you get the Dark Sigil, get Sleep Dart, and then you get Casted Shadows and Dark Strike 3. So, focusing on that dark damage. It might tie in pretty well with getting a few of the adornments that increase your light and dark damage. The Dark Sigil, when that procs, also increases your dark damage. And kind of likewise, the Radas have Holy Sigil and they have Holy Spells. I actually quite like the setup of the Rada followers. So you got Holy Sigil, then you have Ward of Light, Purifying Strikes, and Ward of Mithril on this lower tiered pet. So purely focused on ward recovery and ward turns, and a bit of damage as well. Ward of Light heals as well. Then you got the skill Rada Stomp, which is the same as provided by the Greatsword, and deliver the what? Sorry. Okay. Normally this is a 2-turn move, but of course pets, they don't take turns; they just go bang straight away. And the defensive procs, it doesn't actually proc on your character. It might proc on the pet. We will probably never know, but it does give you the extra powerful strike, which is quite interesting. And the tier 10 versions, they have slightly better skills. So for example, you got Ward of Ortonite here on the Shade of Rada, but the Rogue has all the same skills. For example, for some reason, it doesn't have Casted Shadows 2 like the Dark Pegasus. Don't know why. Maybe it's too strong. Who knows? Perfect Shot is an interesting version for the pet. These pets are interesting. Don't know I'm not playing pet builds so much at the moment, unfortunately, so I can't really make an objective comment. But from the outset, they do look interesting, and it seems like they're focusing on pushing the light and dark playstyle. So, I was saying earlier, when the Beguiled Apollyon, the Apollyon pupils came out with the books, I was thinking nobody's ever going to use these. The proc rate's really low. They were pushing the dragon damage as well at the end with the Bulwark coming out, and then all of a sudden for the entire month I used the dragon book every day. I used the Bulwark every day. It was doing dragon damage. So who knows what's coming in the not too distant future. So when you've got the adornments in as well, in your weapons as well. That's increasing, you know, you got more multipliers there. So the all class types can equip the holy and light books from Bacada Polygon. It's not mage only, thankfully. So that is Riftfall. Super interesting. Me personally, I like the fact that there's a little wee quest line to complete. You know, most people should knock it out in a few days. If you don't want to do the quest line, you don't need to do it. There's raids there. I'm just personally, you know, if I think back to events in the past, this time last year, we would get one new raid. You know, that's it. You know, not to mention 6 different raids, 4 bosses, 4 followers, bunch of mobs. No, I think it's pretty fun. I got to show you this guy here. Okay, trying to climb. Okay, well, let's talk about the mimics, because there was a little leak and there's a little tweak to this event. So if I go back in the codex, because we're going to get a little upgrade to the lost helmet and I guess the dark mage robe that drop orange stuff. Let me find it 1 second. Okay, so for a very short space of time when this event went live, these actually leaked into the game. So maybe like 2 or 3 people actually got these drops, these mimic heads. It's to do with the fact that Google hadn't reviewed the update or something, so they had to do some manual stuff, I believe, to get the event that go in time, and these kind of slip through. But anyway, these are mimic heads. It's a headpiece and drop from mimics only, and they increase your gold, item find, Orn find, luck, I guess. Yeah, well, more items is the luck stat. Might find more items. Mighty Mimic, tier 9. Gives you item, golds, orns, and experience. The tier 9 version. Mimic King, more orns, more gold. So this is going to be, you know, a good fun few days. Like all kind of orn and experience boosters, if you don't find a high quality version, it doesn't necessarily matter. Once you master forge and above, all the stats normalize, and it doesn't matter what you had previously. So make sure when this comes around that you pick up, you know, if not one of everything, at least up to and including your tier, because the Mighty Mimic Head, this gives more orns than Lost Helmet, and also get luck chance, more gold, more experience as well. So you definitely want to pick this up, and it's not an insignificant number. It's like 10% orns, I think, from what I saw. So looking forward to picking up a new headpiece for farming. And I did mention, let's check out the sprite packs for this month. I meant to do it last month, but I forgot. Okay, bloody hell, thought they weren't going to load for a second. Mimic Pat, so yeah, I mean, these guys are literally wearing the mimics on their head, which is, I guess some people are going to love that more than others, but it's kind of cool. Like, you got pink gear here as well for some of those hiding. That looks like one of the Battlemaster sprites. And then you've got the white Rift pack based around Riftfall. You know, that angelic winged hero type, the gold helmet and such like. I've seen quite a few people with this one, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm going to stick with my woodcutter Viking Raider axe and shield. But that is pretty much Riftfall. I hope you liked the event. Roundup, if you've got any questions, let me know. But yeah, hopefully that cleared up for you guys what to do. And yeah, big thanks to Moise for the thumbnail. Love his artwork. And of course, big thanks to the Arisen Orna Legends for supporting myself and this channel and the Discord. Got to thank the mods as well. every now and then. No, they're doing a lot of work with the amity hunting at the moment, going well. So again, if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments below or on the Orna Legends Discord. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Hope this helped, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.